Shalom, shalom, and welcome. Welcome to the White Roads Family Channel. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah. The messages I present do not necessarily reflect the owners, managers, shareholders, or sponsors of the media platform that you're listening to or viewing this content. Again, my name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening nation. Those who are drawn by the Almighty Father Yahuah to Yahushua HaMashyach, or Yahusha the Messiah, who is indeed the word of Yahuah manifest before us physically, the sacrifice, the resurrection that was made, and that Yahuah sent his set-apart spirit in Yahusha's name. Yahusha represents Yahuah saves, or Yahuah's salvation. It represents that no one can come into the Father except by the Son, except by the plan that Yahuah laid out. And many people fail to understand that. In this fourth segment of the final Exodus, Countdown 2023, and I explain how I arrived at that date, my brothers and sisters. You see an image of a bright star where it says from four corners. I want to just briefly direct your attention to research the great conjunction that occurred December 21st, 2020. And look at the article. I want you to research the article that speaks of the great conjunction. And you will see in there the date 1623. 400 years from 1623 is 2023. There are other factors that have been brought and was brought to my attention before this occurred, and I explained that in detail. How I said 20, it's actually been over 40 years ago. I received an image, or should I say in a dream and in a vision. Messengers from the Almighty Father calling out the planets to line up to prepare for deliverance. I did not know over 40 years ago what the fullness of that dream was, as it was repeated in my head in a vision, until this great conjunction and the Spirit of Yahuah, I believe, in the name of Yahusha, brought to my attention. This marks the time where deliverance will begin at a stage in which he will begin to gather his children together to return to the promised land. This and other factors. The final Exodus, Countdown 2023. It is my belief by the month that is so-called December, and 2023, by December 21st, it will be clear as to the freedom of those who must fulfill the final Exodus. We have less than 3 years to come together in unity, my brothers and sisters. And it is my belief that between now and then, serious conditions will occur. Challenging times will come before us greater than what we're witnessing now. And we will begin to act and respond to the living orders, those who must and will fulfill the final Exodus. And must fulfill tasks that will fulfill the word when it talks about martyrs dying for Yahusha's name. In this fourth segment, my brothers and sisters, I want to address the matter of Unity Qualifiers. Know what is required to be a part of the 144,000 and great multitude that will fulfill what is written. It is important to know what is required, for in the midst of all the different positions of belief and teachings and practices among Yashar'al, you see, as the scriptures read in 1 Peter 4:17, judgment begins at the house of Yahuah. He takes his children and he disciplines us, as it reads in Revelation 3:19, as it reads in the 12th chapter of Hebrews. He disciplines us, he refines us, he brings us to the point where we must and will obey his living orders, or find ourselves being carried home, put to sleep, death. In some cases, some will get sickness unto death, but repent and remember where they've fallen and be renewed by the power and might of the blood of the Lamb and the Spirit of the Almighty Father. Unity Qualifiers. You see, my brothers and sisters, among all of us who are the set-apart children of Yahuah, there are qualifiers for bringing about unity. And in all the compromising and all the confusion and all the different interpretations and things, this will come to an end to those who will fulfill the final exodus, to those who will be martyrs for Yahusha's name. This is the time we're getting ready to see the greatest of correction among Yashar'al. Come with me as I go into details of some of the things that will be corrected on. I want you to understand, before I get into this, my brothers and sisters, we must understand the importance of salvation, being saved. Because we read a scripture and it talks about endure to the end, or they will be saved at the end, it doesn't mean that we're absent from being saved now. How then can we call ourselves set apart if we're not saved from the clutches of the enemy, if we're not delivered, if we're not drawn by the Almighty Father? To be drawn brings a separation, brings salvation, brings being saved. Now, the fullness of our salvation, the fullness of being saved will be confirmed on Judgment Day. But do not be deceived by people saying you ain't saved yet until the Mashyach come back or until resurrection. Do not be overtaken by erroneous individuals, teachers, mores, pastors, deacons, or other spiritual heads. Do not be overtaken by them in their erroneous lies. Salvation begins with Yahuwah's word, drawing us to Yahushua Mashyach. Consider John 6:44. No one is able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I shall raise him up in the last days. So what do you think is happening when it says he draws us? Is that not a degree of salvation? Is not that confirmation of being saved, drawn, and by belief we find ourselves in the body of Yashar'al, set apart Yashar'al? Consider Matthew 6:24. Come with me, O Yashar'al. It reads, no one is able to serve two masters, for either he shall hate the one and love the other, or else he shall cleave to the one and despise the other. You are not able to serve the Almighty One and Mammon. Serving the Almighty One, does that not take salvation? Does that not take being saved? John 14:6 says, Yahushua said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. That says M. Let me correct that. But it should be me. Bear with me, my brothers and sisters. I want to correct that slide. And your patience is needed. Yashar'al, these are some trying times. I am merely your brother who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father. I present the messages that I am compelled to present before you. If the words I speak are true and have life, they will stir within you. My brothers and sisters, we are that generation. We are the generation to witness the fulfillment of what has been written. Now let me read John 14:26. It reads, but the Helper, the set-apart Spirit, whom the Father shall send in my name, he shall teach you all and remind you of all that I've said to you. Here, John, or Yehonan, some may say Yochanan, is quoting the Mashyach, letting us know that the Helper, the set-apart Spirit, whom the Father shall send in his name. Some will comprehend this to say send in the name of Yahuah. This is Yahusha saying in his name. As I stated before, Yahusha is Yahuwah's word. But by saying Yahusha, we recognize the plan, the process in which the Almighty Father has laid out. Understanding instructions regarding rest and Shabbat. My brothers and sisters, our new year has begun. or is about to begin, depending on some who you speak. I'm not here to debate that. But we are in the season of the new year. And like with all things, as the Most High draws us, rest is one of the things. Shabbat is one of the things that is important. As for me, today is Shabbat. So I say to you, Shabbat Shalom, my brothers and sisters. Shabbat. Have you ever heard anyone tell you if you wanted to bring something into their house that they did not approve of, say, you can't bring that into my house? Have you ever heard a parent, a mother or a father say, don't bring that in my house, or I'm not having this in my house, whether it be house or apartment, whether it be tent or shelter, but the rejection of things that are not acceptable to be in that house? I submit to you, O Yashar'al, all the different interpretations of when Shabbat, when the day begins and when it ends, will come to an end among those who will be brought together with the 144,000 and great multitude. Shabbat is from the beginning of daylight to the beginning of daylight the next day. And I say to you, I believe I am one of the contributing shepherds towards bringing Yashar'al together in unity. And if you believe Shabbat is from the end of daylight to the end of daylight the next day, you cannot be among the ranks of those who will be unified and fulfill the final Exodus. You will face correction to be among that ranks, because it is written, no house divided against itself shall stand, no kingdom shall stand. Unity must come in this final Exodus. So pray, O Yashar'al, pray to ensure that your position on Shabbat is from the beginning of daylight to the beginning of daylight the next day of the 7th day of the week. Sure, that's the weekly Shabbat. There are other Shabbats. My brothers and sisters, as one who believe he is one of the contributing leaders to this final Exodus, make sure that your position on Shabbat is correct, not because that's what everybody else says, not because you got tired of researching so you just yielded to what these false teachers are saying. A correction is coming, and those who cannot receive this will be either corrected or purged from the midst of those who will fulfill a unified people gathered for the final Exodus. Let me read the following to you, O Yashar'al. Because in the drawing of the Almighty Father, comes a time to rest, to sit and find out what's going on. The Almighty Father is drawing you to Yahusha, drawing us to Yahusha. We must rest. We must pray. We must listen to the voice of the Almighty Father. Before doing anything else, we must know and understand the importance of rest and Shabbat. Consider the workings of the Spirit of Yahuah, drawing us to him. As I read Exodus 20, verse 8 through 10, it reads, remember the Shabbat, to set it apart. 6 days you labor and shall do all your work. But the 7th day is a Shabbat of Yahuah, your Almighty One. You do not do any work, you nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. And it goes on to say, if you would come with me, that Exodus 28, chapter 20, verse 8 through 10 speaks of Shabbat. Exodus 31, 14 speaks of Shabbat. It says, you shall guard the Shabbat, for it is set apart to you. Everyone who profanes it shall certainly be put to death. For anyone who does work on it, that being shall be cut off from among his people. You see, my brothers and sisters, in this final Exodus, we will be in agreement to when Shabbat begins, when it ends, how to guard it, and how to honor it. Make sure that you're not embracing Shabbat because that's what the large community, the large camp, that's what people have been teaching for ages. Not all who are set apart are disobedient and deceive. For there are those who understand and who have received from the Almighty Father the stirring within their spirit to accept when Shabbat begins and ends. So I ask you, these are the days in this final Exodus preparation that you must choose your position. For if your position is contrary to what I just said, you will not, if you do not yield to correction, you will not be, guaranteed you will not be a part of those among the final Exodus. You will not be among the ranks of the 144,000. You will not be among the set-apart children who had their robes washed by the blood of the Lamb. You will be taken home. You will be purged. Yashar'al, you have heard me say multiple times that the 7 major feasts, I didn't say they were the only feasts, I say major feast times each had a purpose. And during this new year season, it was a time of instructions regarding Passover and life. In other words, if our forefathers would not have followed the instructions given out during Passover, they would have faced death. So, as we read and understand, the Passover, my brothers and sisters, was a time of instructions, not debate, not arguing. One can question, one can have differences, but we must pursue what is true, what is real. We must be prepared for, if both of us are wrong, to yield to what is right. If one of us is wrong, yield to what's right. We must be prepared to acknowledge and confirm what is set apart and true in order that life can come. And this final Exodus, to show the life of a unified, set-apart nation, we must understand the true instructions. And the purpose of the Passover was to bring to our attention that instructions, living instructions, yield life. Allow me to read Leviticus 23, 4 and 5, my brothers and sisters. It says, these are the appointed times of Yahuah, set-apart gatherings, which you are to proclaim at their appointed times. In the first new moon, on the 14th day of the new moon, between the evenings, is the Pesach, or Passover. Now, many people don't know that the word evenings, if you start researching different languages, it's a separation of day and night. And there are those who will say, well, let me tell you the true Hebrew. The true Hebrew word for the morning is this. The true Hebrew word for the evening is this. But I'm sharing to you, my brothers and sisters, though they are trying to subjectively tell you what it means, this is talking about from daylight to daylight, the appointed times. It says in the first new moon on the 14th day of the new moon. So some will say that meant that the moon started at night. Believe what you will, O Yashar'al, but the truth of the matter is a new moon is a full moon. It does not come at the beginning of day. You see the new moon, my brothers and sisters. You see, many believe that you can't see the new moon tonight. But look around, there are days you can see a full moon in daylight. It's not as bright, but when darkness comes, it shines with a brilliance that has been proclaimed by the Almighty Father, giving us each month extra daylight to harvest the foods that we need. You see, a new moon is a full moon. And with each passing month, when that new moon comes, my brothers and sisters, the darkness in the night sky is lit up by that full moon, extending something akin to daylight for harvesting food. You see, we are agricultural people, and so many of us disregard who we are, what we've been called to do. How many of us have seen where it talks about a tree, a vine, planted by the rivers of the waters? How I use analogies of seeds. Let me continue, my brothers and sisters. You see, it's the Spirit of Yahuah that makes alive the things that he is saying to us, he brings to life. Who is aware in 2 Corinthians 3:6 when it talks about The letter kills and the spirit makes alive. You see, when the Spirit of Yahuah makes the scripture alive, we get more out of it, not just the literal. You see, those who look at just the literal will find themselves struggling with others because people comprehend text different than others. The way we was taught in school, the way we was taught at home, or wherever environment we were taught as we were coming up, influence how we comprehend the things we read. But the Spirit of Yahuah makes alive the meaning of what is to be said. And it talks about us having access to an endless fountain of water. And we see that there are scriptures that say the water is as the word of Yahuah. I say to you, O Yashar'al, when we read the text as water, when it comes alive, we'll see that it goes beyond just the literal. It comes alive. And this is what we will see happen as correction come among a set apart nation that is rising. My brothers and sisters, I spoke of the new moon. Let me read these two passages. Leviticus 23:5. In the first new moon, on the 14th day of the new moon, between the evenings, is the Passat. Passover, my brothers and sisters. Here, Yahuah is letting you know on the first new moon, on the 14th day of the new moon, for the new moon lasts long, giving you enough time to harvest crops for that season. Exodus 12:2 says, the new moon is the beginning of new moons for you. It is the first new moon of the year for you. We are children of the light, and we will mark our years beginning with the light provided by the Almighty Father, not the darkness that comes. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. Another passage in Leviticus 23, speaking of unleavened bread. This would be the second major feast time. And it says here in Leviticus 23:6, and on the 15th day of this new moon is the festival of Mashyach to Yahuah, 7 days to eat unleavened bread. You see, if you drawn to Yahuah, to Yahushua Mashyach, do you think he draw you just to take off running and doing anything and everything? No. We must know the difference between unleavened and leavened. We use bread as the literal example, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. But the purpose is for us to recognize that there is a cleaning that takes place. There's an identifying of what is set apart influence versus wicked influence. Unleavened bread, not influenced by man, influenced by the instructions of the Almighty Father. Leavened bread, in this case, is influenced by man, injecting a leavening to cause the bread to swell. You see, in this drawing by the Almighty Father to Yahushua Mashiach, if we look at the purposes of these feast times as a blueprint for our daily walk, as we come in contact with one another, to vet. If a person don't understand that we must follow instructions to have life, then understanding the need for discerning the purposes of unleavened bread, if they're trying to skip that, would be a moot point, would be counterproductive, would not make for a sequential growth pattern for us towards maturity, O Yashar'al. The Feast of Unleavened Bread. Come with me. Next, we have the Feast of First Fruits. And yes, I've spoken of this before, O Yashar'al. It is important in these final exodus. If one cannot see the sequence of this vetting instruction that is provided by the Almighty Father, you will stumble, you will fall. For some, we will face correction in understanding it fully, taking the time to swiftly vet and examine one another, that we are in order, that we understand instructions bring life. We must guard and clean the things that are around us. And now we have first fruits. For in first fruits, some people will get the instructions quicker than others. Let me read Leviticus 23:9 through 11. And Yahuah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Yashar'al, and you shall say to them, when you come into the land which I give you, and you shall reap its harvest, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruit of your harvest to the priest, and he shall wave the sheaf before Yahuah for your acceptance on the morrow after the Shabbat. The priest waves it. You see, my brothers and sisters, if you look at just the literal, of what I just read, you may miss out on so much that is said. You see, in a harvest, if you look at the priests as the mediators for praying for the children of Yashar'al, if you look at the priests as leaders among Yashar'al, amongst promoters and demonstrators of life by Yahuah, the Almighty Father, then they would know what to do with the first fruits. You see, many individuals don't give thought to first fruits. If they like the fruit, they eat it. They don't even think about it. They pick it. They might bake. They might eat it raw, even to this day with fruits. How many of you have ever eaten fruits or vegetables and given thought to how it came to your hand to mouth? How many of us have given thought to the work that it took to bring that fruit to maturity to reach you? But I submit to you, the leaders of life, the shepherds, the intermediaries for Yashar'al, they know that in that first fruit, that is the superior fruit in terms of perpetuating or promoting or ensuring its future among us. So the priest waves the sheaf, but the priest also takes the seeds and know when to plant and know how to preserve that fruit, that grain, when the masses may not give much thought. Sure, there are those who will give thoughts, but it rests with the leadership to ensure the promotion, the furtherance, the preservation, the guarding of life and the elements that bring life. My brothers and sisters, we must realize there are sequences in order have its place. So from Shabbat, resting from being drawn to Yahuah, working in us, through us, to bring us to awareness that he is indeed drawing us, to receiving instructions as in Passover, instructions that yield life, to understand the importance that now that we recognize this life, this salvation, being saved by the Almighty Father, making himself known within us through Yahushua Mashyach, his word sent before us, to us, in us, working through us one towards another as well as direct. Then we realize that there's the first fruit. Some of us will understand fully, more fully than others, what is happening and how to guard it and how to join with others who understand this sequence, this order. And then comes a time, my brothers and sisters, of harvest, a time when more and more people get it, more and more people receive it. This is what we're getting ready to witness in this final Exodus, a harvest like never imagined, unity like never imagined. My brothers and sisters, there are unity qualifiers, and time will prove these words to be true. Let me read Leviticus 23:16 through 22. It says, I'm in Leviticus 23rd chapter, verse 16 through 22. It says, until the morrow after the seventh Shabbat, you count 50 days. Then you bring a new grain offering to Yahuah. Bring from your dwelling for a wave offering 2 loaves of bread of 2/10 of ephah, fine flour that is baked with leaven, first fruits to Yahuah. Notice how it said bread, and then it takes you back. You can't have bread without flour. And with the flour, there's a process in order to get baked with leaven. And this could not be without fruits, the fruit of the wheat plant. the fruit of the plants that can be used to be ground into flour, to bake bread. He said, and besides the bread, you shall bring 7 lambs, a year old, perfect ones, 1 young bull, and 2 rams. They are an ascending offering to Yahuah, with their grain offering and their drink offering, an offering made by fire for a sweet fragrance to Yahuah. That fragrance, my brothers and sisters, is the fragrance that is produced by things Yahuah provided to Yashar'al, food and bread, meat and bread. Out of obedience, we learn the value of harvest, appreciating what the Almighty Father did by smiling on the environment in order for us to grow the food that we need, whether it be livestock or vegetation. He goes on to say, and you shall offer 1 male goat as a sin offering and 2 male lambs a year old as a slaughter of peace offering. And the priest shall wave them besides the bread, the first fruits, as a wave offering before Yahuah, besides the 2 lambs. They are set apart to Yahuah for the priest. And on the same day you shall proclaim a set-apart gathering for yourselves. You do no servile work on it, a law forever, in all your dwellings throughout your generations. And when you reap the harvest of your land, and do not completely reap the corners, of your field when you reap, do not gather any gleaning from your harvest. Leave them for the poor and for the stranger. I am Yahuah, your Almighty One. I want to say to you, O Yashar'al, you can take the literal and stop there. You can spend a lot of time dissecting this with those who claim to know Hebrew, who are promoting Aramaic and want you to believe they breaking it down to true Hebrew and are lying to you. You can spend time doing all that, or you can receive the life in these words and look at these end times. When the Almighty Father harvests his children back to the promised land, remove us from where we are and out of captivity to the promised land, he did not glean all the corners. He left some. If you doubt these words, look up the scripture that say he reigned on the just and the unjust. Look up these scriptures that say some fell, there will be a falling away. Look up the scripture that talks about some that's still on milk, unbelieving. Look up the scripture that talks about martyrs for Yahusha's name. Could these be those who will be left? Some who will recognize the plan of the Almighty Father and acknowledge this. Do you see a connection and a similarity? Know what it means. Even in harvest, as we die daily, someone physically dies. Their spirit is harvested from their earthen vessel, and to those who are our brothers, they place in that position where Yahuah places the spirit of us, where we rest until resurrection time. But there are those who left physically alive to do the work of the Almighty Father. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, the final exodus. It's not about games. It's not about argument. It's not about me or you. It's about worshiping and obeying in unity what the Almighty Father presents before his children. We must understand, my brothers and sisters, after harvest and our excitement, we rejoice. In our excitement, we blow the shofar. We blow the trumpets. We make a joyful noise in what the Almighty Father has brought us to and through. We acknowledge his judgment. We acknowledge his presence. But in that excitement, in that blowing of the shofar and the trumpets, let us be real, my brothers and sisters. When we're overjoyed and excited, we'll stumble and fall. And the Almighty Father knows this and knew this. But before I step into the next feast, let's talk about the Feast of Trumpets. And Yahuah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Yashar'al. In the 7th new moon, on the 1st day of the moon, you shall have a rest in remembrance of trumpets, a set-apart gathering. You do no servile work, and you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahuah. Do you honestly believe that the Almighty Father wants us to do most of the work and instructions at night or when it starts to get dark? You see, my brothers and sisters, again, we are children of the light. if you are to be a part of this final exodus, you will find that you will come into oneness and understanding when the day begins and ends, how to guard and honor Shabbat, understanding the purpose of unleavened bread and the purpose of first fruits. You will come to understand the harvest. You will come to understand the discipline required to minimize the mistakes and our excitement during the Feast of Trumpets. Let me continue, O Yashar'al. So we stumble, we fall in our excitement, overjoyed, partying too much, and set apartness. But the Almighty Father knew this would happen, and he brought about the Feast of Atonement, knowing the power of the blood, for it brings renewal by the instructions and orders of the Almighty Father. Leviticus 23:26-32 reads, And Yahuah spoke to Moshe, saying, On the 10th day of the 7th new moon, Yom HaKippurim, it shall be a set-apart gathering for you, and you shall afflict your being, and shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahuah, a day of atonement, or a day of covering, knowing what atonement does. It brings about renewal, O Yashar'al, not looking back, but repenting and seeking forgiveness, not looking back, getting stuck, but at the very least just look back to remember where we've fallen, recognizing where we stumbled, and being renewed by the blood of the Lamb. It's saying you do no work on the same day, for it is Yom Kippurim. Now I'm reading that from this translation of this scripture. To make atonement for you before Yahuah, your Almighty One. For any being who is not afflicted on the same day, he shall be cut off. Afflicted, meaning sacrifice, coming away from the norm and being focused on Yahuah. Sacrificing all that is necessary to be giving our undivided attention to Yahuah as he works in us, through us, one towards another. The 30th verse, I'm in the 23rd chapter still. And any being who does any work on that same day, that being I shall destroy from the midst of his people. You do no work, a law forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It is a Shabbat of rest to you, and you shall afflict your beings. On the 9th day of the new moon, at evening, from evening to evening, you observe your Shabbat. You see, my brothers and sisters, again, at night, when darkness comes, remember, the children of Yahuah didn't have electricity. The skies, and sometimes when it's cloudy, the skies was pitch black. Yashar'al wasn't working in the dark. It was daylight. From daylight, the crack of dawn, when the daylight first came, to when the sun went down. That's when they worked. And if you count 7 sequential days, that 7th generation of daylight is the time to rest, when you would normally work. If you normally sleep anyway at night, do you think he's going to tell you, well, rest and sleep? He designed our eyes, our bodies, the food we eat, the plants we grow, the animals we grow, to be nurtured during daylight hours. That's the cycle of work, from daylight, beginning of daylight, to the end. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, you can continue to follow the masses, be as you will, but if you anticipate being part of the final exodus, if you believe your spirit is being stirred to participate in this final exodus, if you believe your spirit is stirred to fulfill final orders to be a martyr for Yahusha's name, if you believe your spirit is stirred to shelter in place and be the last words from Yahuah to those who did not make it out of the destruction that is coming, then you will face the correction and the awareness regarding the life and what I'm presenting before you. Atonement, a time of renewal, a time of putting to end arguments, a time where we would acknowledge where we're wrong, repent, and get under the blood of the Lamb, and be renewed by the power and might of the Spirit of the Almighty Father, and press forward. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. You see, the blood of the Lamb is not just to say we're saved or we receive salvation through the blood of the Lamb. The blood of the Lamb is to say, as we grow, As the flesh war against the spirit and our spirit within bring correction as we manage these earthen vessels, we can only do so correctly and in set apartness by recognizing that the blood of the Lamb functions moment by moment, day by day. And it is through the blood of the Lamb that we can be refreshed, renewed, where we can shout hallelujah, coming from a time we would have stumbled or fall. Even if you've been one of those among the teaching the age-old thing regarding Shabbat or ignoring the purposes of the 7 feast times, the blood of the Lamb will let you know that in spite of all the years behind you, you're washed. It's cleansed. Receive what is true and press forward. Don't look back and say, well, the only reason, and I thought, and don't get depressed. Don't be overtaken with saying, boy, how did I let that get by me? Something so simple. Don't focus on that. Be washed in the blood of the Lamb. Rise up strong, as you will see your brothers and sisters that are called to fulfill this final exodus, as you will see the 144,000 in great multitude who will fulfill what is written, as you will see those who will be martyrs with the strength of set apartness and no fear of what would happen to these earthen vessels. The blood of the Lamb, my brothers and sisters. Let me continue. You see, Unity Qualifiers require us recognizing the life what the Almighty Father is presenting before us. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters. Now we have the 7th feast, tabernacle, booths. Let me read Leviticus 23, 39 through 43. Leviticus 23, verse 39 through 43. It reads, on the 15th day of the 7th new moon, when you gather in the fruit of the land, celebrate the festival for 7 days. On the 1st day is a rest, and on the 8th day. Notice how it says on the 7th new moon, when you gather the fruit. You see, the new moon, the full moon is bright, giving you extra light as the skies darken, so that you can continue to harvest the fruit of the land. Haven't you not seen a farmer or heard? Some of us, maybe not so much. But there are some who have seen farmers work as it starts to get dark, and they want to gather as much of the harvest as they can before it gets too dark. People fail to realize it says the 7th new moon, when you gather, it's letting you know, hey, this is a day, appreciate. I'm giving you extended light to gather your fruit. Goes on to the 40th verse to the 43rd. Let me read it all the way through. And you shall take for yourselves on the 1st day the fruit of good trees, branches, and palm trees, twigs and leafy trees, and willows of the stream, and you shall rejoice before Yahuah, your Almighty One, for 7 days. You shall celebrate it as a festival to Yahuah for 7 days in the year, a law forever in your generations. Celebrate it in the 7th new moon. Dwell in booths for 7 days. All who are native born in Yashar'al dwell in booths, so that your generations know that I made the children of Yashar'al dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yahuah, your Almighty One. Dwell in booths, my brothers and sisters. This is as though the Almighty Father is saying to you, in honoring and guarding this feast times, recognize that the Almighty Father provided shelter. As they came out of Mitzrayim, they wasn't just out there without shelter. They dwelt in booths or tents or tabernacle. There's shelter. He provided shelter. And it wasn't just the booth, the physical booths, and saying just that. We need to look at what did the booth protect you from? The elements, rain, wildlife, to some degree. There's a protection and shelter. There's a sheltering. And many people miss that the Feast of Tabernacles is saying, I provided shelter, I protected you, I preserved you as I called you out of captivity. And just as this occurred in days of old, we will witness in this final Exodus, there will be shelter, there will be protection. We will not only witness that then, even now in these earthen bodies, as we live each day. Who is aware of Deuteronomy 8:3 that says man doesn't live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the Almighty Father's mouth. So I say to you, O Yashar'al, by his word we live. By his word our earthen vessel is anointed and protected. We have shelter from the throngs of death as we receive life from the Almighty Father. These earthen vessels, within them is our spirit, and our spirit is stirred moment by moment as we awake from slumber. Our spirit stirred to manage this shelter, this earthen vessel, this earthen shelter that he's given us. But it's moot point if you look at the shelter and you cannot follow instructions to life, which is Passover. It is moot point if you don't know when to rest. It is moot point if you don't understand the importance of unleavened bread. We must continually guard and protect ourselves and not let wickedness seep in or become a part of those who are being gathered into obedience and set apartness. It's a moot point if you talk about this shelter and you don't know its function, that some will get it, others won't until later. It's a moot point if you can't recognize harvest. It's a moot point if you don't know the need to make a joyful noise to acknowledge the presence of the Almighty Father. It's a moot point if you don't understand that through the atoning blood of the Lamb, we can be refreshed and renewed each moment. It's a moot point, O Yashar'al, if you disregard the sequence and order laid out by the Almighty Father. You see, the tabernacle is not some empty vessel. The tabernacle, the booth, houses the set apart ones, individually and collectively. Worship and obedience is something we will learn, my brothers and sisters. What is necessary to be one? If you cannot see what I've just presented and laid out, then prepare to be absent, whether it be physically, not with those that are gathered, or unto death. You must know with confidence. Look in the mirror, pray, seek to discern. Don't assume a position of belief just because everyone else is doing it, or a larger crowd is doing it, or because they've been doing it for years. Know what the Almighty Father is saying to you, and know that in his discipline, the truth will come. Yield to it, O Yashar'al. Prepare to receive the correction that is necessary if you find yourself struggling with what I've laid out. Worship and obedience. Language is the fuel of action. I submit to you, Yashar'al, as end times ramp up, as destruction come. Look around even now. There have been brothers and sisters been in the midst of tornadoes, hurricanes, famine, and pestilence. Do you see them running around saying, well, wait a minute, let's decipher what the Hebrew is saying. Let me say what the Hebrew says this and this says that. In a sense of urgency, are they speaking fluent language for you to hear? Language, believe it or not, look up the definition of language. Look it up, O Yashar'al. It is not just the echoing of sounds from the mouth of individuals. Gestures is also a form of language. Pictures and symbols is also a form of language. And man will have you think that the pictures and symbols is antiquated, or they would make you think it's just the Egyptian hieroglyphics. No, my brothers and sisters, there were pictures and symbols of the original Hebrew language of the pure lips, put in pictures and symbols. They too required being made alive by the Spirit of Yahuah. Ask anyone who teaches so-called Hebrew, are any of the terms subjective? Do they have multiple meanings? Examine their words and teachings, and then ask them, how do they subjectively choose what one term means? Such as the ox head, a symbol of strength, a symbol of leadership. Which one is it saying? Do they say both? You see, in subjectivity, my brothers and sisters, we can take our own fleshly brain and mind and comprehend and push a thought or a belief of what it means, or we can yield to the Spirit of Yahuah and discern what is he saying to us at this time regarding the ox head, or the symbol for shelter, the different symbols. Language, my brothers and sisters, we have many different languages and we're from many different nationalities. But it states in Revelation 7:9 that there's a great multitude of many nations, kindreds, and tongues, my brothers and sisters. The 7th chapter that say will be brought together, whose robes are washed by the blood of the Lamb. We must recognize trying to find that pure lip right now, that is not what we're ordered to do. We're ordered to communicate as Yahushua has placed us in wherever environment we're in such a way that the action, that the functions yield set apartness. And we will learn how to come away from those who subjectively want to push the literal versus discerning what the Spirit of Yahuah is saying. Our dress and attire. We will learn how to dress modestly. We will understand that hemming our garments neatly with a purple cord is what it meant when it talks about the zitzits and fringes. We will grow to know that it was the synagogue of Satan. It was the wicked ones who wanted to be more fashionable and exaggerate and distort what the Almighty Father instructed us. So they wanted to put just 4 cords on the 4 corners of their waist, or fringes around the corner, phylacteries dangling. My brothers and sisters, an agricultural people would not be ordered to walk around with fringes dangling or zits dangling that's getting wet, or that could be bait for animals that would be obstructive and being functional as an agricultural people. But having a garment hemmed neatly so that you conduct yourselves in fellowship in an orderly manner. This is what the Almighty Father, the reason why it was a purple cord, blue and scarlet, or blue and red, makes purple. Blue represents the word of Yahuah, but we cannot recognize the word of Yahuah without the atoning blood of the Lamb. So when you have the word and the blood, we recognize the life in Yahuah. Thus, blue and red makes purple. So all those individuals you see with all the fancy garments, embroidered garments, and make no mistake, oh Yashar'al, I know how to digitize. I know what it is to embroidery. I have found favor with the finances to if I want to pay for such garments. But this vanity, oh Yashar'al, will come to an end. People who are wearing garments with menorahs on them, or Yahuwah's name on them. Believe it or not, this is a violation of the commandment. Putting images from above. Now, those who want to just put some Hebrew words on there that are Aramaic, fine. But don't tell a person that's the true and pure lip that that's the original language. That's a lie. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, the final Exodus will bring about those with different languages. As we come together, we'll know how to express the need to discover drink, food, shelter, the need to worship and obey, the very basics in life. The need to get things accomplished will come through gestures and demonstration when we find ourselves with those who cannot understand the language we speak, or we cannot understand the language they speak. It will be the actions. For actions, the function speaks louder than words, O Yashar'al. Dress, modesty. We're not supposed to be showing and revealing ourselves. And we will come to a point where we will wear garments for the men that go below our crouch. And for the women, not revealing cleavage, legs, and flesh. We will learn how those alluring distractions will come to an end, and how to practice governing ourselves as it relates to dress, behavior, practices, and even speech. We will learn how to fellowship with one another, O Yashar'al. We will move beyond compromising acceptances for unity to come. Being together, my brother, my sister, being joined together, set apart placement is important. It's a must. And in order to be in unity, there must be qualifiers. What qualifies a person to be with you, with us? And if they do not meet those qualifications, they are to be delivered to Satan for the destruction of the flesh, to be brought down to where they realize that the fruit of their disobedience, undiscerning positions, destroys the physical body. And some will face death, and some will become so weakened and recognize and cry out to Yahuah, and then begin to seriously listen to the voice of Yahuah and repent and be renewed and rise up. Some will rise up with the strength and power beyond what they could have never imagined could happen, even in the spite of what they went through. Placement requires removal, correction. There will be brothers and sisters repositioned that are in different positions and will find that they're in the wrong place. It's like a hand being on the shoulder and it should be by the wrist. It's like a kneecap behind us, like a hip or your butt, when it's supposed to be down, connected to the thigh and the calf. Repositioning is coming. In some cases, it will be painful, but afterwards it will yield a peaceable fruit. When we're in the position of the purpose we were designed to do, the task that has been given us. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, know this. We are many members, but one body, one spirit. Who is aware of the life in the following passage? Come with me to Romans 12. I would suggest that you read Romans 12, 1 Corinthians 12, and Ephesians 4th chapter. It talks about the different members, the different gifts, not exhaustively, meaning it doesn't mention every gift in every joint individually, but it lets us know that there are many members, all working for the good of set apartness. Again, read the whole chapter of Romans 12, 1 Corinthians 12, and Ephesians 4. Right now, I have an excerpt of Romans 12. Chapter 12, verse 1 through 5 reads, I call upon you, therefore, brothers, through the compassion of the Almighty One, to present your bodies a living offering, set apart, well-pleasing to the Almighty One, your reasonable worship. How many know that when you present your bodies as a living offering, you offering up the strength to release the bad habits, the erroneous teachings, the things that are not of Yahuah? You're sacrificing them, letting them be brought to naught so that you can yield to what is reasonable, what the works of set apartness is about. He goes on to say, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is talking about the renewing of your mind as your spirit works in the brain, in the body, to demonstrate the power of renewal coming from the blood of the Lamb. This enables us to move beyond when we stumble and fall. It says that you prove what is the good and well-pleasing and perfect desire of the Almighty One. For I say, through the favor which has been given me, to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he should think, but to think soberly, as the Almighty One has given each a measure of belief. How many of you have seen mores, teachers, trying to have the most flowery and fancy dress to try to make it look like they're more in tune, try to think of themselves as more spiritual than others because they believe they dress more attuned to Hebrew leadership? How many of us have seen people who want to just speak very loudly, make a name for themselves, opposed to make clear what the Almighty Father is saying? He goes on to say, for we have many members in one body, but all members do not have the same function. So we, the many, are one body in Messiah, and members each one of one another. We are connected, O Yashar'al. Let us not be absent of understanding this. My brothers and sisters, discerning old wineskin versus new wineskins is important. Many of you probably have heard me say that it's going to be mostly children in its final exodus, and it will. Time will prove that. There will be some adults, there will be some elders, there will be counselors, teachers, and guards, and guardians. But we will witness Why it would be mostly children? Why? Because the old hats are as old wineskins. A wineskin. Let's take a moment and think of a wineskin is that which contains the wine. It is the outer product that holds the wine. And when you read the scriptures talk about you wouldn't put new wine in old wineskins, why? Because the wine that's been in old wineskin has been subject to the environment, subject to the influence, the outside influence. It might have scars and scratches and stuff on the old wineskin. It may be tethered. But because the wine, the old wine in it aged with the wineskin, the bag is fragile and the wine in it has become fragile to some degree. In other words, take under consideration people who have been taught set apartness. And over time, that teaching that is true becomes fragile because in some cases they begin to question whether what is true and what's not. Why? Because we must always examine ourselves. There are many who have been in this set apart walk for years and decades. And they are as old wineskins, my brothers and sisters. Tattered, bruised, scarred, some uncertain on some things. But there is something that can make them renewed, and that's the blood of the Lamb. When the blood of the Lamb renew our spirit, it is as new wine. When he anoints our bodies become as new wineskins. Those who will be part of the final exodus, those who will be martyrs for Yahusha's name, those who will prove to demonstrate the banner of obedience and set apartness in these final days will be as new wineskins with new wine. Now, does that mean he changed? It's the strength of what it's producing, my brothers and sisters. In this final exodus, we will demonstrate the renewedness of power and strength and unity in the coming days ahead. Let us prepare to manage our emotions, for some will lose children. Children will leave some parents or guardian. Some of us will witness death. Some will survive and witness what is happening to testify of the fulfillment of the promises made by the Almighty Father. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, Unity Qualifiers exist. Countdown, less than 3 years, there's much to do. There will be movement. We will adjust and adapt. We will leave things behind. We will know how to not look back continuously, but know how to focus forward, for there is so much work to be done ahead of us. Yashar'al, discerning old wineskins versus new wineskins. Let me read this passage to you. You, my listening brothers and sisters. Luke 5:36-39 says, and he also spoke a parable to them. No one puts a piece of fresh garment on an old one. Otherwise, the fresh one makes a tear. And also the piece of that which was taken out of the fresh one does not match the old one. And no one puts new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, the new wine shall burst the wineskin and run out, and the wineskin shall be ruined. But new wine is put into fresh wineskins, and both are preserved. And no one having drunk old wine immediately desire new wine, for he says the old is better. Time will prove that some of the old teachings and practices that we've seen are not as old as the Ancient of Days, Yahuah himself. We will learn what it means by old wineskins and old wine. We will learn what it means by new wine and new wineskin. You see, there are instructions that are coming forth for such a time as this that was not presented before our forefathers. We are to fulfill some things that they did not. Thus, the new wine and the new wineskin is how we govern ourselves. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, There will be leaders, and there will be guards, and we will learn how to grow in the strength of set apartness and protect what is true, what is real, what is brought forth to fulfill what is written. My brother, my sister. Some might say, well, who gives you, what makes you the authority? Pray and watch. When the leaders rise, my brothers and sisters, the power and might of the Spirit of Yahuah in Yahusha's name will go forth. And we will see the rebellious, the disobedient, either renewed, corrected, repent and renewed, or removed from us, or we will come from them, away from them. The final exodus, less than 3 years. There's a lot of work to be done. Are you prepared to walk away from that family member? Are you prepared to walk away from that house, that community, that land, that apartment? Are you familiar with the words from the Spirit of Yahuah that was quoted from John, from Yahuah directly, that he brings division? You see, what's most important is being obedient to the giver of life, drawn to the giver of life and those whom he is bringing and knitting together, joining together. Choose wisely, O Yashar'al. The final exodus, countdown 2023 has begun. And I believe in our 8th month of 2023, that month that is known as December of 2023, we will witness being freed from captivity. And there are certain things that must happen to make the world acknowledge who the true Hebrews, who true Abraham, set apart children of Yahuah are, who the true nation of Yashar'al set apart, that includes black and white, Hispanic, French, Japanese, many people from many nations that are drawn at the word of he who gives life, drawn by the Almighty Father Yahuah to Yahusha, made one under one banner. We will recognize the acknowledgement of the 12 tribes of Yashar'al, as mentioned in Revelation 7 chapter. And each of those 12 tribes will be recognized and fulfill what is written. And then upon that completion and fulfillment, we will all recognize being under the banner of Yashar'al. Sure, it is written we're neither Hebrew nor Greek, or Jew nor Gentile. That's talking about the spirit of a man. But we must acknowledge the physical presence of the true children of Yashar'al. Other than, if not, how then can we identify the fulfillment of what's written in Revelation 7 chapter? Among the European, the Caucasian, and the white, among the non-Hebrew, even among the Hamites and the Shemites, my brothers and sisters, they find it hard to acknowledge us. And some of you may wonder why. Do you know that we're the only people on the planet that was given a land that we was not indigenous of? In other words, the promised land was not our original land. We're not indigenous of the promised land. It had inhabitants, but the Almighty Father Yahuah gave it to us. So those who are not Yashar'al, those who are not Hebrews or Abraham, resent the fact that their forefathers' land was given to us. That's why it's a lot of resentment towards us. But know this, O Yashar'al, he made the land. And even those who were indigenous of it, he can say it's time for them to be removed. Pray and watch. See, a lot of emotion, a lot of thought, a lot of anger, a lot of joy. But this is a plan of the Almighty Father. And we will grow to understand its purpose and our destination to be with him. Stay tuned, O Yashar'al. There are Unity Qualifiers. And just as one would say, you cannot bring this into my house, we will say you cannot bring it into our house. The house of Yashar'al is the person in the mirror, are the people of Yahuah, redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. So in Yahusha's name, recognize this house, O Yashar'al. Recognize the Unity Qualifiers. I invite your questions and your discussion on the matter. You are welcome to set up a time where we and those who are teaching you erroneously, I have no problems discussing the matters that I presented to you, O Yashar'al. It's not about me. I believe there will be other leaders, other teachers, other individuals who will confirm and speak the truth in which I presented, who will be given the strength and instruction to provide understanding to what I've presented. And it's not so much me, but what the Spirit of Yahusha is providing as he works with my spirit, and through me to you, O Yashar'al. Rise up, my brothers and sisters. Stay tuned. There's so much more to come. The countdown has begun, and again, it's less than 3 years from now. Prepare to witness unity among the children who will fulfill the final exodus, martyrdom, and present the final words from the Almighty Father as widespread destruction spread. My brothers and sisters, I will ask for your help in more ways than many. You can email me at Symmanayah@gmail.com, Symmanayah@gmail.com, or you can visit my website at the top there. You will see on the screen, Watchman.net. In the contact page, you can submit your communication and I will reach out and respond. I want to say something to you. For many years, my brothers and sisters, I also used the email Symmanayah@YahsWatchman.net. To streamline that, I no longer have that as an email. One email, and that's Symmanayah@YahsWatchman. Symmanayah@gmail.com. Symmanayah@gmail.com. All other emails are being phased out. So forgive me if you've reached out to that old email, please forgive me. But the transition time have brought me to a point where I must use that one email, and that's Symmanayah@gmail.com. If you are listening and not looking at the slide, the name is spelled SYMMANAYAH@gmail.com. SYMMANAYAH@gmail.com. If you would like to provide financial support, you can do so through Cash App, White Rose Family. Now, I'm not going to try to deceive you and say, I need your financial support to do these YouTube videos. That would be lying to you. Your financial support will help in sustaining me and my physical dwelling for me and my household. And it will also help with preparations for gathering land and resources as Yashar'al began to come together, as building a communication network of those who have been brought together in unity, those who have passed through the Unity Qualifiers to help and assist with Yashar'al coming together. Make no mistake, O Yashar'al, all that is ordered will be fulfilled. All that is ordered by the Almighty Father. In the name of Yahusha, I salute your patience, your tolerance, your pursuit of set apartness. Stay tuned, O Yashar'al. There's much more to come. And I'm not just seeking assistance financially. I say, help me, O Yashar'al, in the building up of those who will be gathered together. Your talents, your skills, your abilities. Let us communicate. Let us vet one another continuously. Let us discuss. Let us ask questions. Let us know when to act and when to respond. So my name is Symmanayah. I come to you again in the name of Yahusha as your brother. For the final exodus is a serious matter. And we will learn how to control our emotions, when to be still, when to move, when to speak, when to be silent. On that note, I say to you, my brother, my sister, I say to you, Shalum.